and frankly, he's as smart as anybody I've ever dealt with or known. I mean, Al is a brilliant guy, and I still got a lot of respect for him, even though obviously we don't do as much business together or aren't as close as we may have been.
Short term, long term, is that beneficial for the sport or good or bad? Good or bad for the sport?
Is what good or bad?
Like Al, you said the word likes being in control versus having 20 different personalities.
But that's not really. Look, I mean, it's not good or bad. I mean, look, right now ESPN's controlled by Bob Arum and Todd DeBuff.
Yes.
DAZN. I mean, don't get me started on Eddie because I don't even want to go there.
Oh, I was about to. That's where I was going next, man. You already know that.
And don't get me started on Golden Boy either. Right
now. I need to. I hate Golden Boy. Me personally, I hate him.
Look, I think part of the problem. Look, in a weird way, I don't like the idea of any of these exclusive deals. The reason HBO boxing in its heyday was so dominant is that we wouldn't do exclusive deals. And you know what the death of HBO boxing was?
No.
The death of HBO boxing, where HBO boxing opened the wound and started bleeding, and the bleeding didn't end until Peter Nelson and those guys pulled the plug, a year or so ago. But the bleeding started when that exclusive deal with Golden Boy. And at that time, it was Golden Boy and Schaefer and Al were together. And HBO made an exclusive deal. Exclusive deals are the destruction of boxing. And look, the last 5 years between Heyman, DAZN, and ESPN, there's been hundreds, probably close to $1 billion spent in boxing. And honestly, is boxing better off than it was? No. And what I blame that on is the 3 separate avenues with exclusivity. That doesn't serve the interest of the sport. And when exclusivity hit HBO in the 2000s, it took another 10, 15 years, but they were totally out of the business. And then going back and observing the 3. The zone's got to take more control over its own fucking business right now, because if boxing's going to be a big part of them, they can't rely on Eddie Hearn and Golden Boy. And maybe right now everybody's like thinking that they're completely dead. I don't necessarily buy that, but because I think that their international presence and the launching of it, the international app, the global app, will probably keep them, going, and they have some countries where they're very strong, and I don't see them out of it yet. But they got to, the idea that Eddie Hearn was going to come into America where he never did shit before, and a guy like him, and I don't want to, a guy like him who's like a lily white billionaire, dude. I guess he's a big celebrity in the UK, but he isn't here. And the idea that he was going to come here and he thought he was going to take all these black fighters away from him and sign them and go over and raid everybody else's fighters. He threw around a lot of money, man, but he didn't wind up with what he thought he was going to wind up with. Yeah. And it's because this is also relationships, man. It's a relationship business. What Al has with the PBC, you can make, people can make whatever object comments they want from the outside, but Al's relationships with the majority of the PBC fighters are incredibly strong. And those guys swear by him, right. And you can't just come in, even with a big checkbook, and think that you're going to undo relationships that were built over years,
Is that white privilege with Eddie Hearn? Because I wouldn't hand, me personally, I wouldn't hand over $50 to $100 million and say, hey, Eddie, I know you don't know anybody, but here's $100 million. Make it happen.
Yeah, I don't get it. I don't get that. I think that the Ukrainian dude that owned DAZN had a pre-existing relationship with Eddie's dad. Okay. I also think he went to that Klitschko fight with Joshua with 90,000 Brits singing Sweet Caroline and all the fucking pyrotechnics and explosives and fucking fireworks show and all that shit. And he thought that Joshua was going to be the transcendent star of boxing. Well, Joshua gets into the United States. A dude tests positive for steroids, They stick in a little fat Mexican American heavyweight who box a lot in the ring with him, and then he winds up getting knocked out, and there goes that. Right? And honestly, no matter what, Joshua's still a superstar in the UK, but I don't think Joshua's ever going to be a superstar in America. You know? But I think that some of the shit was just luck and timing. I don't know about white privilege, you know. I'll say this though, man. I'm a white guy, right? But I grew up in Brooklyn. And my family wasn't wealthy, and I may be white, but that dude's a lot whiter.
No, I just fascinate. No, honestly, you know why I ask? Because I just fascinate. Because when I was a credentialed media, I would see people begging Eddie Hearn for a job. And I'm sitting there confused, like, why are we bowing and kissing rings and shit?
Look, I don't get it, man. I got to admit, I don't get it to a large extent, but I'll tell you what I do a little bit. Big, good-looking dude with a lot of bread. He throws his, he's braggadocio. He like waves his bread around. You'd think he was a fucking rapper that seeing money for the first time in his life, and not a guy whose daddy bought him a $400,000 Ferrari when he was 17. But he is. He's a kid that had a silver spoon in his mouth. But he does have that sort of like the charisma a little bit that King had in the old days. You know, he has that like, you know, he plays to the microphone. He thinks he's a bigger star than his fighters. You know, Don King once said, "Well, you know, my fighters come and go. I'm still here. I'm bigger than any of those motherfuckers." And he was. And the truth is, look at every fighter Don King ever promoted. Don's a more well-known person than any of them right now, pretty much. You know, with the exception of pretty much. I mean, for the most part, Don was a huge celebrity. Eddie promotes himself a lot, man. Eddie's promotional style, a lot of it centers around Eddie personally. It works in the UK. It doesn't work so well in the US. Got you.
So what does the DAZN do? Because I think for the price,
look, if the DAZN has most of the best fights from around the world and messes around a little bit in the US, the hardcore boxing fans in the US are still going to buy the DAZN. Elsewhere around the world, they're not only doing boxing, they're going after other rights. And that's why they're pretty strong in Germany, because they have the German soccer league. Gotcha. That's why they're pretty strong in Japan, because they have the Japan soccer league. They're strong in Canada a little bit because they do the Premier League in Canada. So I think that their emphasis is going to be on the global app, not on, like, I don't think they're going to pay much attention to where they stand against ESPN or PBC in the United States. I think there's an excellent chance that Eddie's fights on Sky are going to move when the Sky deal is over, that they're going to maybe move to the DAZN, and that he's going to go after that, Great Britain in a big way. But I think their concentration, it's pretty clear to me that their concentration is going to be more, from what I'm seeing, on the global app. And that probably is what they have to do. It probably, and look, it looks now like they're going to be able to negotiate. They're going to get something done probably with Canelo. And they'll still have Canelo, and they're going to have, look, if you have Canelo and they don't have to spend $100 million here. They have Canelo and they do another, 4 or 5 strong fight cards here. If you're getting Canelo and you're getting a couple other American fight cards, but you're getting the best stuff out of Europe also, and some of the best stuff out of the Far East and Australia and elsewhere, maybe the app works that way. You know what I mean? But I don't think they're going to be as dependent on boxing in the future, and I certainly don't think they're going to be as dependent on the U.S. market.
Oh, so it's similar to like coffee being the Starbucks, Burger King to McDonald's. Is that a fair analogy?
I don't know. I mean, I don't get the analogy necessarily, but
meaning comfortable being the B-side, comfortable being like, it's okay. I know I'm not going.
I don't think it's necessarily comfortable being a B-side. What they need is to grow subscribership around the world.
Got you.
And then you know what? When any business, I don't care who you are, everybody's like, it's about decision. including Top Rank, because we're in a fucking pandemic, man, and the economics of everything are much more difficult now. But the zone particular brand. Try building a brand in a fucking pandemic. Try building a brand where you spent an awful lot of money and then you lost everything you gained. So I don't think it's a matter of being content being the B-side. I think it's a matter of adjusting your business model to something that can work. And they were already planning to launch this Globe Up, and they still haven't launched it yet. My guess is it's going to launch with something big they do in the next 6 months to a year. And I think their emphasis is, I think it's more redirecting your business than being content being like a secondary. I don't think they care so much whether they, in fact, I can pretty much guarantee you that they don't care so much whether they're the biggest U.S. boxing entity. I think they're going to concentrate on their worldwide, their global app. Gotcha. That's what I think they're going to do. Gotcha. Bro, I got to jump. This is a call I got to pick up. But good talking to you, and enjoy the fights. Go Sergey.
Appreciate you. Thank you, Lou. Appreciate you. Lou DiBella, y'all. So I'll chop this interview up. I appreciate Lou DiBella coming on. Thank you. It was a spontaneous call. I know he had Sergey, and I just wanted to get his perspective on it. And there you have it. Barbershop Conversations, man. Feel free to hit the subscribe button. I bought the pay-per-view. You should buy the pay-per-view. And don't forget, Toby has a concert the following day. He is one of my top 5 favorite rappers, favorite artists, favorite musicians. His tickets are $21. Go support him. And that's where we're at. So anyways, Barbershop Conversations. Feel free to hit the subscribe button. And I'll talk to you guys soon. Peace.